Hello everyone, so in this video I'm going to go over the meta for the current Regulation G metagame. As y'all know, this is the second run of Regulation G, so we're technically on the 8th month of Regulation G, so this is going to be the last month of Regulation G. So as we go into the final couple weeks of the regulation, I just kind of wanted to basically go over my experience in the regulation, just kind of understand what the metagame has just understand how the metagame has evolved over the course of the regulation, and just kind of go over my thoughts on everything. So this is the sv.poketb site. I'm sure you guys have seen this if you've watched my other videos or just seeing it or being thrown around in the community, but it basically just shows the usage stats of all the Pokemon for ranked battles. You can see up to the top 150, and unranked Pokemon are down here, but you can basically click on a Pokemon. This is Fluttermane, for example, and you'll see the most used moves. You'll see the most used Terra types and items and everything like that. Very useful. You could also see the top teams that finish with Fluttermane on it. So a lot of teams, obviously, because Fluttermane is just a very good Pokemon. Most used Pokemon in the current metagame at the moment, for a good reason. So yeah, that's pretty much overview of this website. You can also see player rankings as well, so that's pretty important. And then you could also see the usage stats over the course of the month, so you can kind of, it's like a graph form, which is really useful. But yeah, and then there's also a tier list from GameWith, which when I did this analysis back in November for Regulation H metagame, I kind of went over their GameWith tier list for that as well. And this time is no different. They had their tier list for Regulation G. It looks like they have one from April 4th and one from March 10th, which is a little different because things have changed, obviously. Even though the metagame has remained the same, things are just changing around every day, every single day, which is absolutely crazy. So I'm just going to go over it. And they also have explanations for each Pokemon and their rankings. So it looks like at the moment Koraidon is ranked as the number 1 Pokemon, and I actually gotta disagree with that. I think Miraidon, it's either Miraidon or Calyrex or the rank 1. It's really hard for me to determine which one, but I can understand why they put Koraidon in the number 1 spot, because as you may have seen from the last season, Koraidon has taken the top spot at the end of the season, so that's a huge influence right there on why it was changed from March to April, because the season ended at the end of March, and that's what happened. So the reason why Koraidon is so good, though, is because, yeah, it has the ability to increase that power in the sun. So those Flare Blitz and Flame Charges are going to hit very hard in the sun. And as you may see, Koraidons are obviously, they're very commonly paired with Fluttermanes and Chiyus. Chiyu, very strong fire attacker, the strongest fire type attacker in the game, because it lowers the opponent's special defense when it comes into the battle, and also just Overheat can just eliminate Pokemon no matter what. Like, they can resist it. They can resist it and still die one hit to Overheat, which is pretty insane. And then, yeah, but Koraidon also has that physical capability, so you can pair Koraidon with a special attacker and just dominate the board, just both sides of the spectrum, because they're just very strong. And especially Fluttermane and Koraidon have excellent compatibility in terms of Terra types and coverage and everything, because Fluttermane can threaten the opponent to go into a Steel Terra, for example, and then Koraidon can just use a fighting move to threaten that. And that's just one example. They can also be the same for the other, vice versa as well. Koraidon can force certain Terras that Fluttermane is really good against, and yeah. So it's just a really good combination. It's used very commonly at the highest level. And you have the U-turn as well. So the U-turn makes it really annoying to deal with, because if it's Choice Scarf or Choice Banded, you're gonna have to figure out how to break it down as it's cycling around with its team, because Koraidons that have U-turn are usually on a cycle-oriented team, so they're gonna be switching around a lot. And you just have to figure out how to break the cycle. So a lot of people just use like Qian Paos, a lot of people use different things to break that, and that's just part of this thing you're gonna have to figure out when solving the metagame. So yeah, that's pretty much why Koraidon is so good. It can just do so many different things. It can support teammates in so many different ways. So it's really amazing. And then And it's also kind of hard to, you can't really immune Koraidon's attacks because the only way you can do that is with like Flash Fire's Terra Fairy Swirl Edge or Flash Fire Terra Fairy Heat Ran, which doesn't immune everything, but it immunes the fire and the dragon, which is pretty important. But that's why I said the U-turn is just really, it makes it really annoying to deal with because you can't immune U-turn, not realistically, so yeah. You can, however, use like Globora, Toxic Price Pressure with like Red Card or like a Rocky Helmet to punish U-turn, but that's pretty much, you're gonna have to deal with Koraidon later on once a U-turn's out, so that's the thing you have to solve. So yeah, that's pretty much it with that, and then obviously you have the Calyrex-Shadow, which is basically the fastest Pokemon in the metagame at the moment. Because yeah, like being able to outspeed the fastest legendary Pokemon is it's just really good quality to have, and especially with Chien-Pao as well. So that 135 speed bar, that 135 speed stat is shared by Koraidon, you have Miraidon, you have Fluttermane with 135 speed as well, and you have Chien-Pao. So Chien-Pao, very annoying Pokemon to deal with, especially because the Icicle Crash flinch, you don't want to get flinched by Icicle Crash, you want to be faster than it. So having a Pokemon that can reliably outspeed it is very important, which isn't really it's obviously very uncommon for that to happen because the 135 is just so fast. So this just makes it very reliable and to deal with Chien-Pao. However, you do have to use Terra, but overall, just being faster is just so nice. It really is. And yeah, so fastest legendary Pokemon. It's 4 times weakness, can be easily covered with Terra, so yeah, that's really important as well. Astral Barrage is really strong, 120 base power attack, but it can be immune by a normal type, obviously, and I'll get into Miraidon in a second, but Miraidon's electric moves can be immune very easily by a ground type, and that's why Koraidon is a little bit different because it can't just get immune like by a type. So yeah, that's just how it works right there. And getting into Miraidon, so yeah, I think Miraidon is just really annoying to deal with because you have to play, because you have Volt Switch and U-turn, right? So you can't immune it, you can't consistently immune its ability to pivot out, and you have the very strong electric moves. You can't put it to sleep, you can't use Yawn or anything because of the electric terrain. It's protected by the electric terrain. Its teammates are going to be protected by the electric terrain, so you have to find a different way to control those teams, because a lot of people try to use like Yawn to control things, but that's not really going to be a solution here. And yeah, the special attacking stats are really strong because you have things like Draco Meteor, you have man, I remember the Japanese name, Electro Drift. I'm so used to like hearing Inazuma Drive or something like that. That's just kind of funny. But you have Electro Drift, which is extremely strong, very hard to switch into, obviously, and its typing is just really good. It has a lot of good defensive benefits as well. So yeah, Miraidon is just very good in the metagame. So these 3 Pokemon are obviously the most used and strongest legendary Pokemon in the metagame. However, they won't guarantee you wins, as a lot of players are building their teams to specifically deal with these Pokemon, so you have to keep that in mind. They're not just free wins. None of them are free wins, and that's just something you have to understand. So, getting into their A-ranked Pokemon, we're going to start with Zacian. Now again, I don't know if this tier list is ordered, but I will assume it is. So, we have Zacian, which is basically a very fast Pokemon. So again, higher speed than the 135 speed bar, which is commonly shared, so that 148 speed is really important. Very strong against Fluttermane and Chien-Pao, which are very common Pokemon that are used outside of the legendary Pokemon. And then you got the high attack stat with that Interpret Sword, which boosts its attack when it comes in. However, the one thing about Zacian in this generation is that it doesn't get the Interpret Sword activation every time it comes in. It can only get it when it comes in for the first time. So that's really a really important thing to note right there. And yeah, obviously the Behemoth Blade is very strong as well. So very good Pokemon when it comes to running offensive teams or hyper offense, or what it's called as face-to-face in Japanese. So that's really important. Taiman or something like that. But yeah, very, very strong Pokemon. A lot of people, actually, when I was playing ranked battles earlier, I actually saw a lot of Zacian teams. So Zacian is actually increasing in usage as we speak at the moment, so that's kind of interesting. But yeah, Kyogre, and same with Kyogre. So I've seen a lot of Kyogres recently. As you'll know, Kyogre sets the rain. It's a very good special attacker, has a large amount of special defense, and just the coverage is so good. Like Water, Ice, Electric is so good. That's like probably the best coverage out of all the legendaries because like nothing can really deal with that reliably. And then the neutrally just water is just really strong, especially with that rain. And then yeah, so yeah, just really bulky and strong. Recently, I've seen like a trend with Kyogre where they're running like max HP, max defense with the Javoka Berry. I've seen this pop up a lot recently, and something must have happened in the metagame for that to happen, but I don't really know exactly what happened. But that's something I saw. So that's something you have to keep in mind right there. And yeah, but you also have to worry about the Choice Scarf sets and Assault Vest sets as well, because Choice Scarf can really just sweep the match if the opponent doesn't have anything because of Water Spout and other things like that. So yeah. And then you have Ho-Oh, which is the very bulky Pokemon. You see Ho-Oh very commonly on bulkier teams, like for example Ho-Oh plus Volchian or Ho-Oh plus Dondozo, Toxapex, anything like that. And recently in the season 27, we had Ho-Oh. We had a Ho-Oh stall team, or what's called a loop team, Uke Loop. It took first place in season 27. So it's a very strong Pokemon that pairs well with other defensive Pokemon, and this is what you can see right here. So the Sacred Fire is just so good because you can have that 50% chance to burn. So it's pretty much kind of like, I mean, it gets me like Sacred Fire burns so much, like all the time, because 50% sometimes feels like 90%, honestly. So, but yeah, high burn rate. Terra. So you get Terra to make yourself not weak to or because the problem with Ho-Oh is that when it comes in and it doesn't have heavy duty boots, it takes 50% HP from Stealth Rock. So having the ability to Terrassil and just kind of get rid of that is really important, because you want to be able to cycle around this Pokemon because of Regenerator and things like that. So that's really good. Also, you can just run heavy duty boots and just not care about it completely. But in the case of this team, since they're not running heavy duty boots, you would need to think about when you're going to Terrassilize to alleviate the Stealth Rock problem, basically. So yeah, that's pretty much how Ho-Oh is used in the current metagame. And then you have, well, I guess there's different Ho-Oh sets you could run into. Like for example, you have the Assault Vest, you have the boots. The heavy duty boots is the most commonly used item, and then you have the AV, and then Choice Band. I haven't really run into that in a really long time, to be honest. But yeah, they're roaming around somewhere. But yeah, so the next one is the Ice Calyrex. So you have, very, very bulky attacker, very strong attacker. You really it's just really hard to take this thing down. It really feels like it's like a final, like a raid boss. Like it's just really hard to take down, while it can just one hit KO you in return, which is kind of crazy. But the thing is, it's very slow, so it needs, a lot of the times it's paired with a Trick Room Pokemon, or uses Trick Room itself and requires kind of the use of Trick Room at this point. But if it gets the Trick Room off, then it's going to be a very big problem. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And the Ice typing is obviously really good offensively, but defensively it can kind of struggle. So it needs to, a lot of the times it kind of forced to use Terra. And the most common Terras you'll see, I think, are like Electric and Fire, if I remember correctly. So if we go to Ice Colors, yeah, very Electric is the most common for sure. Then you got Fire, you got Water. But the thing about this Pokemon though is it can actually run Leech Seed, so it gets Leech Seed, so it can be very annoying with Leech Seed. Same with the Shadow Calyrex as well. They can both get Leech Seed and just completely catch defensive Pokemon off guard. So sub Seed is something you have to worry about as well. So identifying the set on Team Preview can definitely help. Although it's very hard to do that, obviously. But like, there's a lot of these leftovers, leech sheep, Calyrex-Shadows that are like sometimes they're paired with like a toxic spikes user like Clodsire, for example. So you can kind of maybe identify that, or just another poison type. You can kind of try to identify its type before, before the battle starts. But yeah, you can try to identify that set before the battle starts. So yeah. Anyway, so that's pretty much it with Calyrex. Like you'll see like these citrus berry sets, or like the most likely leftover citrus berry dice is common as well. You'll see that with like Icicle Spear and Bullet Seed. Those are very good options as well. That can remove focus sashes that try to stall out Trick Room. So I definitely got caught off guard by that, by trying to use a sash to stall out Trick Room, and yeah, so that can be really good there. So yeah, very good Pokemon. And it's very fun to use as well, so I would definitely recommend that. Even in the next Regulation I can definitely see it being used a lot in Trick Room teams with like Necrozma, Despain, or another strong legendary like that. And yeah, so you got the next one is Lunala. So you got the Shadow Shield. So basically it's multi-skill, which makes it very annoying to kill, and just breakthrough in general. And it gets the ability to heal as well. So it's kind of like a Dragonite, where it can just keep that Shadow Shield, that multi-skill, up and running. And you have to be very careful on how you deal with it, because especially since it's very commonly paired with Toxic Spikes users. Like I said before, Toxic Spikes are just very common in the metagame right now, because all the top Pokemon in the metagame are not immune to Toxic Spikes. They can get poisoned, except for like Landorus, Scizor. Like, the top 10 Pokemon are all able to get poisoned, so that's very important to note. And that's why poison and Toxic Spikes are very common in the metagame right now. So yeah, with a Lunala, right? So let me click on Lunala here. Where is it? I'm losing it. Okay, there you go. So as you can see, you'll see, I mean, most Lunalas are paired with like a Toxic Spikes user. So for example, Glamora, you got lots of Glamoras, and just paired with Hazards users in general. It's obviously not the case every time, but for example, this team right here has a Gengar that sets up, that's Toxic Spikes Gengar. So it's meant to just use the poison to its advantage, because again, poison, it's very likely to be able to get the effectiveness out of the poison in the metagame right now. So why not use it? And then you have another team right here, for example. So this has, I believe, Toxic, so you got the, what is this thing? I forgot the name. Overquill's previous, it's like the Hisuian Quillfish, yeah. So you got Toxic Spikes to set up for that Lunala, a Cosmic Power Lunala, so you're supposed to sit there while the poison takes down the opponent. Very good strategy. Very effective, because, like I said, poison is reliable. And speaking about poison, we have Eternatus. So Eternatus, obviously a very annoying Pokemon to take down as well, because of just the stats, 140 HP, and then really high defensive stats at 95, so just really bulky across the board, and you can't really exploit it in one way. Like, you can't exploit it physically or specially, you have to just exploit it with types and just power. So you'll see, like I said, kind of like with you'll see Eternatus paired with a lot of bulkier Pokemon a lot of the time. Now you might run into the Choice Specs or the Choice Scarf, because it can't do that. It has 130 speed and 145 special attack, so it can be used as an offensive or defensive Pokemon, which makes it really scary on Team Preview, because when you see a certain team, like for example, like this team, like you already know it's going to be defensive Eternatus. Like, unless the opponent really has some random Eternatus, it's going to be defensive because it's paired with these Pokemon right here. But for a team like this, like for example the Koraidon or like the regular Ursaluda, you don't know what the Eternatus is going to have, because it's like, it can really have anything at that point. So yeah, just very versatile Pokemon, and just the ability to spread poison but also be a huge offensive threat is just very valuable. Now the one thing it has to worry about is just faster Pokemon, so that 130 speed is going to be a problem against things like Fluttermane and Chien-Pao. Fluttermane, because it can taunt Eternatus, which can make it very hard for Eternatus to remove Fluttermanes. And then you also have Chien-Pao just faster and can threaten that Icicle Crash, so forcing it to Terra. and then it's just slower than all the top legendary Pokemon in the metagame, so that can kind of cause problems right there. But yeah, very good Pokemon nonetheless. And the most common Terra you'll probably see is Fairy, right? That's what, yeah. So 50% are running Fairy Terra. I mean, this isn't like completely accurate because it's like a cumulative data, so it's not really indicative of what's happening at the moment, but it's still a good reference to refer to. So, but yeah, most of them are running Fairy at the moment. So, and that's for a good reason. So yeah, very good defensive type. So the next ranking we'll talk about is the re-ranking for legendary Pokemon, which is Terapagos. So Terapagos is a very niche legendary Pokemon. It's a very good Pokemon in its own way because, again, it has that multi-skill effect with the Terra Shell. It's a little bit different. Every attack is halved no matter what, but it still kind of takes that multi-skill effect, and kind of like Lunala, you'll see the Terapagos is used with Toxic Spikes users like Lamora, as you can see here, because its ability to use like Calm Mind, Rock Polish, and Protect is very good, and it can just heal with leftovers, and the Terraform gives it more HP as well, so it can just make it very hard to kill, and it can just set up very easily to sweep the opponent. Now, in the recent times with the metagame, a lot of Terapagoses, as you can see, have gone like offensive, just straight offensive with Choice Specs or Power Herb, and it's actually one of the team concepts I built around. I built a team around a Power Herb Terapagos before, and unfortunately it didn't perform well, but I do think these Terapagos sets are very strong because they could just catch the opponent off guard, because I feel like a lot of times players are just expecting the classic leftovers, like for example this, like you have this doesn't show it, but the usual set you'll see for like a leftovers is like Calm Mind, Rock Polish, so the dual setup one, and then you'll see the Terra Starstorm to attack the opponent, and the Protect. So Protect serves as a way to get more HP for the leftovers, and also for the poison to take more effect. So that's like when Regulation G was first starting off, that's the main thing you saw, like out of the high ranked Terapagos, is just those leftovers ones, but the meta kind of changed a little bit to where more Terapagos sets are being used, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that's pretty much how Terapagos is used. Yeah. And the Terra Shell and just Terra Starstorm is just very strong in the metagame. So yeah, Lugia. So Lugia is a very niche Pokemon as well, similar to Terapagos. You really wanted to pair it with Poison. So let's go ahead and take a look at Lugia's usage right now. So it's not as used as the legendaries, but it has a very good niche. As you can see, the top teams that used Lugia last season were paired with, again, Glamora for that Toxic Spike support. You got the Clodsire as well for Toxic Spike. So just very good with other defensive Pokemon. It can be very good in cycle battles as well. The only problem with that is that you have to just worry about Stealth Rock. But again, Lugia just has so much bulk and Terastallization as well that it can easily circumvent that. So, and again, Lugia has that multi-scale once again coming out. So it can be very annoying to take down at certain times because it can just keep healing with multi-scale. Again, it has that recover. So similar to Lunala and Dragonite, just healing with multi-scale, which makes it very reliable. And it can use Whirlwind to basically prevent the opponent from setting up and breaking through its multi-scale. So that can be very annoying to deal with. And yeah, the Psychic Noise as well. So it gets pretty good attacking options. Like Aeroblast is very strong flying attack. And then you got Psychic Noise. And then you have the Earth Power for those Steel types as well. So very good Pokemon. It could also run Calm Mind sets as well, which can make it very annoying for special legendary Pokemon, because I feel like at the moment the legendary metagame is very special heavy. So Calm Mind is really good to basically combat that. So yeah, that's basically what Lugia has going for it, and it also just has a naturally high bulk. So the highest bulk out of all the legendaries for sure. 106 HP, 130 defense, 154 special defense is absolutely insane, but it comes at the cost of having low attacking stats. But that's why Lugia can just get away with running defensive sets and just getting away with that. And it's also fast. It's fast for a defensive Pokemon, so 110 speed. Really good at just... That's really important because Gliscor is very commonly used as like a speed bar for a defensive Pokemon, so it can just kind of sit there with Summon Protect against most defensive Pokemon, but with Lugia it can't do that. One, because of the Lugia's being faster than it, but also because of the Psychic Noise, as explained here, can hinder the opponent's recovery, and that includes Poison Heal. So that's a very good thing to know about Lugia compared to other defensive Pokemon. And yeah. And then the last one is Necrozma Duskmane, which is a very niche Pokemon in its own way. It has its own things going for it. It's very good in Trick Room. It's very bulky as well, and it has that Prism Armor, which is effectively solid rock, where it takes less damage from super effective moves. I believe it's 75% damage. It takes from super effective moves, which is pretty interesting. And then the two special moves, which are Sunsteel Strike and the Photon Geyser, can break through. It's like it has their mold breaker effects, as you can say. So, like things like Unaware. So if it sets up a Swords Dance and uses Photon Geyser against Dondozo, Dondozo's going to take a lot of damage because Unaware is not going to really defend itself against that. So that's a pretty good thing that it has going for it. And yeah, the high durability allows it to get those Swords Dances off, those Dragon Dances off. And a lot of them also run Lumberry as well. So if we click on Necrozma Duskmane, yeah, weakness policy sets are very common as well. So if you look at these, like, again, it's not very used, so you won't see that many top teams with it. But weakness policy sets are very good, and also just a lot of sets are just very good. Lumberry is really good as well because since it's so bulky, status might be a really good method of removing it. But if you have that Lumberry, then that's not gonna work. So that's really good. So yeah, that's pretty much what Necrozma Duskmane is going for it. It can also be used in Trick Room teams as well. So I've seen high-ranked Necrozma Duskmane teams in Trick Room as well. So if you click on this team, I believe this is from... I've seen this player is usually known for running Trick Room. So yeah, Swords Dance, Trick Room, Sunsteel Strike, and Photon Geyser, very good set. And it's just paired with other offensive Pokemon as well to just bring on them as much pressure as possible. So yeah, really cool Pokemon. And yeah, that's pretty much all the legendary Pokemon for the Regulation G rankings. So I hope you all enjoyed that. I hope you all were able to learn something from that. And as we go into the Regulation I metagame, these rankings are going to be very important as well. Just knowing what each legendary Pokemon can do is very important as you approach the Regulation I metagame, even with two legendaries on the team. So that's going to be a pretty interesting metagame to kind of build for. So I haven't done any building for it yet, but I'm going to try and do that very soon. So yeah, with that, that's going to be it for this video. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed that, and I'll see you all in the next one.